Hi, I'm E.G. Arcadia Chanda from BS in Computer Science, and this is my activity up recording up something. Um, so first let's test the program. If it would run. Okay, that took a while. First, you'll set an activity title, which I'll just call test activity, and then there we go. Successfully set title as test activity. And then we have set activity date and time, which we can then set. So month would be, let's say, third month, which is March. The date would be 22. Then the year would be 2023. And then it outputs successfully set title as March 22 of 2023, which is what we've inputted. And then for the time, we now input time in hours, which is in 24-hour time format because that's easier to make. So 8 o'clock, and then there it is now set. Now if we display the activity with our display activity, which is number 6, we can now see that the stuff we've inputted is here. So we can now add a participant, which is faculty first. We'll set the first and last name, address, and then faculty ID. And then after that, that's an error. I'll fix that later. Add a student. So student name, first name and last name, and student ID, student course, and then address. Now I'll add another student so I can demonstrate the remove participant. I'll call this student test case with this student ID Naga as the address. Okay, so we can now display all participants, which you have here the faculty and then the students. If you only want to display the faculty, you can just use 8 and that's just the faculty. Or for students, it's just 9, which we have here. Now to remove a participant, we'll select remove participant, and then we have to choose either to remove faculty or student. In this case, we're gonna choose student, the student ID of our test case. It displays the info, and then we'll confirm that yes, we want to remove that student. And then there you go, that's the program. We also have a file reader and writer, which it saves our input in a text file right here. So if we run the program again and then we display it, our input was saved, both an activity title and faculty and student ID. So the code, I'll discuss the code. I'll go over the code based on their appearance in this menu. So here's our main method first, which calls our menu handler, and that's where most of the menu stuff happens, like this one. This is part of the menu handler here. Now for the display menu, we'll call the read file, which is responsible from reading here. It just reads it when we open the app, and then we would set the data from here to their respective variables and objects. After that, we have a while loop, which is for our menu. We also have a save method here, which saves every time we go back to the menu, so we don't have to manually save our files. So here's our switch for selecting. So for activity title, the way we set the activity title is straightforward. We just have our method set activity title, we have a scanner, and then with our current activity object, we use the method set title, and then we output our confirmation that it has been set. Now this current activity is an activity object here, which we already initialized, which is located here, this one. Basically, this class handles title, time, and date, and we used set title earlier, which just sets our input title to this title. So after set activity title, we have set activity date and time, handled by this method set activity date. I think I'll separate them with different class files later, but for this demonstration I've put them in one single file, so it will be easier for me to show. It's personal preference, I guess. Anyway, input numerical date, we have our month, and then we would check with an if statement if it's a valid input, basically between 1 and 12. And then we have the date. We also check if it's a valid input if it's between 1 and 31. Then the year. Then after that, we set it to our current date object, which we also initialize this the same as the activity. And then we input the month, day, and year. Now if we go up here, here's our date object initialized, and then the class date is here. We have the set date, which just sets the variables here. Now for our set time, it's in a different method, sorry. So set activity time, we just have this scanner, and then we just set time, just like that. Now for it set activity, we can see here that when we set activity title, we input 6/23/2023, but it outputs as June 23. That is because of our getDate method here. When we get date, we use this to output our date that has been set here. So this one is the getDate method here. Then we have this, we have a string builder. Then we append our getMonth method, which is this. We take the month in integer. We have a switch here, which for each integer we have corresponding month. So 6 here is June. So this becomes June, and then the day and the year, and then it returns date as a string, and then it gets printed on the method where it is being used, which is here. This is the print line for this. Anyway, after activity date and time, we have add faculty, which is located here. Add faculty participant. We have our scanners for everything, and then when it comes to faculty ID, that's a duplicate. We have an if statement that checks whether the faculty ID is already in use, because we don't want to have multiple of similar faculty IDs, because that would not work. Because that's not how IDs would work. And after that, we just set we just make a new faculty object here, and then we add that to our current participants array list here somewhere, right here. That's our array list for faculty and students. For add student participant, it's just the same as the faculty. Right here, we a scanner, and then for ID, we also check. And then we also have course, because that's something that we have for students but not for the faculty. Then after that, we have remove participant, which is basically we have a choice if we remove faculty or student. And then after that, we're going to use a switch to either remove faculty or remove student method. For remove faculty, we'll first check if the faculty array list is not empty. If it is empty, we'll just return, because we can't really remove anything if it's already empty. You don't have to run all of this, we just return immediately. Now if it's not empty, we're gonna choose the faculty ID, and then we have this method called select. This is supposed to be faculty. Yes, I just copy pasted does remove student and then turned it to remove faculty. So basically remove student would be the same. I'll just discuss this one. So we have this selected faculty, and then we're gonna assign that thing to whichever faculty with similar ID that we have selected, if that would make sense. So we have this method right here called select faculty, which here is the same as select students, but for this it's an array list of student. So select faculty, we're gonna iterate through all of the faculty ID, and then we're gonna compare it to our selected ID. If it is equal, we're gonna assign that faculty to our selected faculty, and then we'll return that faculty object, which gets returned here. This one, this variable object name. Now, if it's null, we're gonna return, because that means it did not find any faculty with the same ID. Now, if it did find one with the same ID, we're gonna display their info, and then we're gonna confirm, and if it's confirmed, we remove. If not, it's cancelled, and then we go back to the menu. For display activity, we have here the display activity method, which basically just displays our title, date, and time. But before that, we check if our activity has a title or if it has a date. If it has, if one of them is missing, we will ask the user to set that first, whether to set the title or the date and time, because we can't really display something if the user didn't set it first. We technically could, but that would be, I guess, useless. It'll just show up as activity title is null. So we just tell the user to set the title. That's why we check. Anyway, for display all participant, we have here a display faculty method and then a display student method. And then if we want to display faculty, it's just the faculty one, and then students. I didn't bother making a separate method for displaying all of them. I just called each of them separately, which I guess would decrease redundancy of methods, making it shorter and easier to edit. Now, for displaying faculty info, we have here, it's just a bunch of print lines. You have first name, last name, faculty ID, and then address. And then for student info, we just add the course because faculty info does not have that. And that's also why they are separate. Also, this line is different. And then we have, well, that concludes it. That concludes all the methods used for the program. Next is exit, which just exits it. Now, for our faculty and student object, it extends to a superclass person, which is this one. And this one contains first name, last name, full name, and address. Now, we would only ask for first name and last name because for full name, we have this method getFullName, which concatenates the first name and the last name and returns both of them as one string called full name. And then they also implement the interface participant, which has our ID. Now they have separate IDs, and then we use this so that we could no, because both of them have IDs, but they are implemented a bit differently, I guess, because this one is faculty ID and then this one is student ID. And that is basically everything in the program. We also have the file writer here, save to file. We just write every info we have like here. So faculty, and then we separate them with this delimiter, which is a vertical bar. So yeah, like that. And then with read from file, it's basically almost a reverse of this, but we split each of these things into their separate array. No, no, they are separated in an array. So the data is in the array. The data is in the activity data array. And then this array, you have this, we split it with this delimiter. So the first one, which is this one, would be the title. So we set that the title here, and then the second is time. So we set it to time. And then for the month, we save it as a word version of the month. So June. So that means we have to convert it back to a number again, which would be 6 right here. So that would parse it here, and then we have the day in the year, and then we just set the date here. Then after that, we take the title, the date, and the activity time, and then we use that to set the current activity that we have. After that, we have the faculty. We also use the same string thing to separate them. And then after that, the students, also the same. Then we just set them to a new object in the faculty. Then we add it to the array list, which is, that's all for the file, save to file and read from file. That's all. Thank you.